So, welcome everybody to our 4dBarn seminar, and today's our topic is can box robot work for large dairy farms? And we are really pleased that this topic in general has gained quite a bit of interest, and I think today we are going to have participants for over 20 countries, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I think the latest country number was 22.
Yes. So it's very good to hear that the things that we are going to talk about today. You found it interesting.
Yes, for the reason for this subject is that we actually in the work what we do, actually we are facing this kind of questions now and then, and we thought maybe it's time to have a separate webinar about this thing.
Yes.
Okay, so what we are going to talk today. So first of all, we will shortly introduce ourselves 4dBarn, although we know that there are some of the people who are listening to us, they know us pretty well, but there are people which we haven't never met, and they very likely don't know very much about us, so we will go through that. Then the second thing is that we talk about the efficiency in barn design. How is it possible if we need to retrofit the robots in the old barn? Then we also go through a little bit about the people management. How does it change in a robot barn? And then in the end, we go through some examples about the labor efficiency and especially what is their economic impact in different situations. So let's first introduce 4dBarn, and of course, when we introduce 4dBarn, we always start from the people. And if I may start, so I'm Jouni Pitkaranta. I'm an architect and co-founder of this 4dBarn company, and so I have been designing barns very long time, and now last 10 years almost 8 years in this 4dBarn company.
Yes, and hello everybody. My name is Antti Puuri. I'm also here working on a 4dBarn. I'm an agronomist and coming from a family farm where I've gained quite a bit of practicals understanding, and I've also worked quite a bit on the different dairy farms. And in my responsibility here is really bring the practical point of views to the discussion, and also for the design services. And among of us, we also have our colleagues, Mario Posio from Finland, also our CEO, Virpi Huotari. And in Japan, we have two veterinarians, Miho Tabata and Nahoko Kanai. And in USA, in Wisconsin, Madison, we have our David Campbell, our emeritus professor, also in our team.
And of course, in addition to these people, we also have lots of in different countries, like people to whom and companies to whom we are working with. But these are the people which are actually kind of working under the 4D umbrella.
Yes.
So, like mentioned, we are an international company. And now we are doing projects, or we have projects in 14 countries in total. And as you can see, pretty much focused on northern part of the world. And of course, the most of the cows are pretty much on that location. So that's very likely that we are working in that area.
Yes, but overall about our company, so we are a unique consulting team from Finland, and we are especially specialized in functionality of AMS dairy barns.
And the story of the 4dBarn started in 2014 when we started to investigate robot barns and their labor efficiency. We will later and during this presentation actually quite a bit talk about that more. But that was actually the reason that we found out that there needs to be a way how this design could be done better because the results were that good what we saw.
Absolutely. And we are still actually doing that today as well. And yes, as Jouni said, we were going to talk about that later also. But also how we gain information, we try to cooperate with other organizations as well. And we are actually very happy that we can cooperate with Dairyland Initiative from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where they do very good work with all this kind of research regarding cow comfort and animal welfare.
Yeah, and like our company is based in Finland, and we four members of this 4dBarn company, we are Finnish people. In Finland, robots came in early 2000. And I think at the moment we are in European Union, we are the country which produces the highest percentage of the milk from the robots. Right now, I think the number is 60. It might be even more than 60% of the total milk comes from the robots. So
yes,
that's
and
pretty
that
high.
number, yes, and that number is increasing as we speak.
Yes.
Yes, so we have collected quite a bit of like our own data of the practical things that happen on a dairy farm, and how we have done it is that we have went to the robot barn during their morning duties, just to observe how people are working on the different farms, what kind of tasks they are doing, how much time they are spending on there. And these are just a few pictures from these boosted visits that we call them. I actually just had last one yesterday evening when I woke up around 4 a.m. and we were in the barn 5:30 just to join the morning duties, and the next one for me is actually in 2 weeks. So we still keep doing this because they give so much valuable information about the working and the practical side of the robotic barns.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that doing these visits and visiting following morning duties in different farms. It's kind of funny that you see that sometimes people are doing the work in the same way, and in some farms they are doing it then in a completely different way. And from every farm, what you do where you do the visit, you always learn something. And
yes,
that's the beauty of this thing. And the thing why we are also doing this is that this is the way how we repeat that we are not doing mistakes. We always try to do this always from the barns what we have designed, so that we can check that they are working in the way as we have meant. And this is very important, like kind of like a feedback also for us to see that if there are some things which are not working well, we can fix them in the next project.
Yes, because the whole point in our company is to always develop our services and develop our expertise.
If we look a little bit about the numbers of this research survey, what we have done, which started 2014, and the first diagram here, maybe some of you already have seen it before. It has been also introduced, for example, in the Horse Dairyman magazine. So we kind of like we started to look the number. How much milk is being produced per labor hour, and then we collected the data from the farms where we visited, and we found out that there was a huge variation in labor efficiency between the farms. So the lowest like the number what we got was 140 liters milk per labor hour, whereas the highest was almost 1,000 liters per labor hour. And that was kind of like a wake up call for us that how come this can be solved.
Yeah, and how? Yeah, just to like find out the reason that, because as you can see right now there are these dotted lines. Of course, this survey included farms that had one robot. They also some of them had two robots, and the maximum robot amount in this survey was 8 robots. And in each categories, you can see the huge variation between the farms.
And also one thing to mention, which is very important, that there's this when we are talking about how much milk is being collected per liter, so that includes daily routine work with cows, heifers, calves, and feeding. So it's kind of like a total work with the animals in a dairy farm. And this is routine work. So sometimes we say so that it's almost like a Saturday's work. What you do on Saturdays.
Yeah, you do only the main tasks that the animals are required.
And this is like a homework work for you who are here listening to us and which are dairy farmers. Count your own number. What will be your own number if you count this in this way? And then it will be very interesting. And actually, when we make this question, quite often we hear that, oh, I have never thought about that. So. Then we also have been we did like a different survey about large robotic farms, and there was in that survey there was 9 robot farms in total. They were in Denmark, Germany, and Canada and USA. And in those farms there was 7 to 22 robots, and in that survey we found out that in those farms the milk per labor hour ranged from 502 to 1060 liters per labor hour.
And right now in the diagram, there is this green arrow that shows the variation between the farms. And even in here, like, it's actually very interesting to think about this, because quite often we have this idea that, you know, the bigger, the more efficient. But actually, again, here, you can see the huge variation. And the diagram on the background, that actually shows the results from the previous research that had and in there, the variation in the farm size was 1 robot to 8 robot farms. So actually the differences in the labor efficiency, they are actually fairly the same, but the common thing is that every individual farm, they actually have a lot of variation if you compare different farms.
Yeah, and one thing what we noticed in this large robot survey, that in that that group there wasn't very low labor efficiency farms, because when you are enough big, you are bankrupt if you are not doing the things well. So that's why I think that is one explanation that why the starting level is like quite high in these larger robotic farms.
So let's talk a bit more about the barn design and how is that related to the efficiency, and also how about retrofitting? Is it possible to also achieve good labor numbers for in retrofitted cases? So quite often the discussion that we hear when especially large farms are considering the box robots, the individual robots, is that there are quite a bit of maybe some fears also and some hesitations. And I would say that the most of the common hesitation reasons are, of course, the investment cost. How much money does it take to actually change it to robotic milking? And also the results, especially on the labor side, because there has been some cases where a farm has turned their conventional barn to robotic milking, and they haven't really got the results that they were aiming for. So for many farmers, that can be also quite a bit of worry. Fetching cows is definitely one of the fears, and also water and electricity consumption that the robots causes. And also one of the things that is really a discussion topic is the cost of the robot pellets that the robots use.
But there's still the interest, and there are examples of large farms who have done it, and there are still quite a bit of large farms who are looking the box robots really to be the solution. And of course the main issue is labor. So we are facing and we are hearing this all over the world, that the labor is really becoming a problem. So that can you get it, and if you get it, it will be very expensive, because there are so many other like I would say like easier or like kind of like better places to work than a dairy farm. And this really forces farms to look to automatization of the certain tasks. Of course, we know that if you are milking the cows in a parlor, and it's really physically demanding, and that is also one reason to look at the robots. And very many cases, the real like a deadline to change the milking system, to do something to the milking system or invest to something new, is that practically milking parlor is just wearing out because it has been used such a long time. One thing what we really also see, that the data what you get from the robots and the new technology in general is something which attracts people, and this is something what we are hearing also from our clients, who has just recently actually built a barn with a parlor, and they say that is actually the thing what they are really lacking, because they don't get that much data from the parlor. And all those things what you get from the robots, and And of course, the success stories from the neighbor farms who have been successful in switching to robots. Of course, that is something which keeps other farms to be interested about those. So about general considerations about large-scale box robot barns, how they typically are like done, and what is the system. And of course, for many of you, this is something what you already know. So typically, the pen size is from 2 to 3 robots. So in a milking cow pen, there is 120, 180 cows, something in between. Also, in some cases, it can be more. And I think the biggest cow group which I have seen and visited, there was one farm in Denmark, and they had 8 milking robots in one pen, and that's actually quite a bit. Typically, the concept is that there are in large farms that there are separate pens with robots for fresh cows, or even the fresh cows are even being milked with the milking parlor, and it's a separate building. It can be even a separate location. And these production units are kind of like completely separate. And because if we divide this thing so that we have this separate transition cow building and transition barn somewhere else, we can actually have those production units in different locations, and we just have this one centralized calving and fresh cow barn. And this is, from the design point of view, this is quite interesting, because we worked with one barn in Czech Republic, and they were actually very keen to do so that they actually would have like done in their farmyard 2 completely separate barns of 6 milking robots and with their own milk rooms. So it kind of like gives some nice options. Yes, and like said, we have observed and studied quite a bit of the labor efficiency in different barns. This is a very common question that we get asked, that okay, so what are the things that actually like create this efficiency in barn? And well, it's a bit of a tricky question, because sometimes there are very, very farm specific things, but these are quite of the general things that really are big part of creating good labor efficiency. And actually many of these are related to cow welfare and health of the animals, because one of the biggest things that we have seen that a healthy herd quite often is also a very labor efficient herd, because taking care of the animals, taking care of the sick animals, doing all these kind of extra things, of course that's not good in the point of production, but it's also not really good in the point of labor efficiency. And there are quite a few things related to the traffic around the robots and the orientations around the robots. How easy is to actually work and do these tasks that are related, for example, fetching the cows. So we really need to have a well thought fetch pen for that purpose. And nowadays it actually has quite a bit of a multi-purpose usage and so on. And yes, but cow comfort and animal welfare, those are also one of the biggest things that affect the labor efficiency here. Yes, and these same like let's say 8 bullet points or 8 numbers or things what we have listed here, these are the same whether we are building a new barn or whether we are renovating the farm. So what we see that sometimes when farms they think about renovation, they kind of like automatically think that okay, we can get it and we can do it because we have renovation. And that is actually something what we really want to push the farms, that actually all these things can be done. And now I will talk a little bit more about those things. So the biggest limitations what we see in old buildings, if we want to use them for renovation, is that first of all building width. So barns are becoming wider and wider all the time, and what we see that in these old barns, they are from the starting point of view, they are quite often way too narrow. And then the other thing is that the structural system, for example, if those barns they are let's say even old tie style barns or they are even old freestyle barns, the posts are always they seem to be quite often in the wrong position. It's difficult do it, modernize it, because the posts are not in the right spot. Today's cow needs lots of fresh air. It needs ventilation. It needs cooling, and those barns, old barns, are very often they are too low. And like in this picture is also from Czech Republic. The walls are thick, and there are small windows. There are small air openings, and that also is a very big limitation. So, for example, this type of barn, what you see in the picture, would it be very good starting point to start to think about the renovation? But when this could be an option, and we have done quite many projects with renovating with box robots, old freestyle barns, and I think very clear and understandable starting point is that the present barn is not very old, because that quite often means that when the barn is not so old, there are good dimensions, the stalls are enough long, the alleys are enough wide, and then the renovation always makes sense.
Yes, because I think one of the biggest things here to point out is that whenever thinking about renovating an old barn, is that to think about that if you renovate it to the robots, do you do anything with the cow comfort and such things? Because if you have some issues with the cow comfort in the current facilities and you don't do anything with them, of course you will have the same exact issues in the future.
Yeah. And then also one reason to do the renovation is that if you are not adding the number of the cows very much, and so that you actually don't have need to build that much new. But as soon as there will be a significant expansion that you need to build anyway, new spaces for some animals, then it would be very beneficial to really to think about these robots to be this completely new part. But in many cases, as we know, because of the economy and also for maybe some reasons, environmental reasons, for some permission reasons, you can expand. Then this building, then putting the robots in the old barn would make sense. This picture, actually, what we have here on the right. So this is a farm. They had a carousel robot into 2014. And like 1.5 years ago, they switched to box robots, and I think it was quite smooth change for them to renovate the barns with this way. But the design challenge is that what we see, and we also quite often get we are able to see some drawings, what farmers sometimes send to us and ask opinions. We quite often see that the robots are just dropped into this existing barn, and there is not that much thinking around the robots. And one reason quite often to put the robots is that installation is very easy, so that the change is very easy. But there's this good saying that save now and pay later, and pay now and save later. I think it really makes sense here. When you are putting the robots in the old barn, you really need to try to do it as good as it can be, although you have had really problems during the construction time, because that time just comes and it goes away, but then you live with the system 10, 20 years from now.
Yes, but so what about the other options? I mean, right now we are talking mainly about the free flow traffic systems with the robots, but of course there are some other systems and other options and alternatives to deal with robotic milkings, and here are maybe the most common ones that are currently available. So of course there are robot carousels, and there are also batch milking and also guided flow. And especially with batch milking and also the robot carousel, I'd say that especially when the farm has this very this way of working is really fitted to the idea of having conventional cow wallow and so on. In those cases, it actually can fit pretty well, and it kind of. But in their cases, we kind of just renovate the milking point of view, but we still keep everything else as the same.
Yeah, this individual box robotic milking, it changes the management, and that is actually, you need to change the management.
Yes.
And in a way, we are kind of sometimes when we talk with the farmers, we kind of like saying that do you want to move cows or do you move milk between the buildings, so that you collect the milk on the housing barns, and milk comes with the pipe to the milk tank, or the cows bring the milk in their udders and they are milking in the like in this picture in the middle, which is actually from Delaval, this picture. So it's being milled with the batch milking. So that there's like that is the difference, and the way how we do with the cows and what kind of work we are doing in the barn is actually quite different in these two. If we compare this batch milking rotary carousel to this regular like box free flow box milking system.
Mm-hmm. But of course, one of the reasons to maybe think about this option is also that if there is a retrofit case, and in some case, as we talked in the previous slides, the retrofit case with individual robots, that it takes some work. There will be some installation time, and there will be quite a bit of a work done in the previous barns. So that also is one of the reasons why some farms are thinking about these two options as well.
Yeah, with this batch milking, of course, it is a new thing, and we are following this process, and we are very very keen to see what kind of like results and numbers we will get. It will be get out from that system. So it's a new thing. Then also we have guided flow. So guided flow system is we have done quite a few projects also with the guided flow, and that is like a system kind of like in between this. If we talk about like a batch milking and free flow box milking system, it's kind of somewhere there in between.
Mm-hmm. But overall, it's always the farm's decision, and it's very like farm-based decision. Every farm has like a different ideas and way of working, and also ideas. And yes, so far we have had, like Joni said, we've had some guided flow projects and also some robot carousel projects as well.
Yes, that's correct. So we also have been working with this kind of like farms who are doing that.
Yes.
But now we talk more about the people in the robot barn, in the large robot barn. What is how it's going?
Yes. And well, this is kind of like the phrase that I've heard so many farmers to say about that. Managing cows is not hard, but managing people is. Especially the farms, I'd say, that who start from the family farm size, and they increase the farm size until they have a lot of workers. And that's when they actually realized what is people management and how hard is that. In a parlor barn, workers typically perform only a few tasks. There can be milkers, there can be people who fetch the cows, and then there are the separate people who do, for example, the veterinarian stuff and all that. It can be very structurized. But in a robot barn, the work itself, it is more versatile, and it also increases demands for the workers. Quite often in the robot barn, one worker does have a few more tasks than in the conventional barn. And then it really is a farm-based discussion on that. How is your management? How is your people management? And how are you going to build that? Quite often, this is this illustration of this one farm's people management level, where they have their owner and they have some districts, and the district have manager and they have their own workers. And for some farmers, it can work really well like this, but it always depends on the culture. What kind of culture are we talking about? And also, what kind of workers we have? How much tasks can, for example, a regular worker handle? Are there some workers that only requires a few tasks and that's it? Or are there a lot of workers that actually can see the big picture, do a few things at the same time and understand a few more things and tasks at the same time? And also in some cases, if there are very, very specific skills, for for example, if we have a veterinarian, it really makes sense that, okay, so he's the one who is responsibility of the vet stuff. Or if we have some technician and we have a lot of robots, there can be a one sector that there's always only people or peoples who deal with it, with the service work. But again, very farm-based decision. But this is something that we really like to point out, especially when the farms are getting larger, because this is very different comparing to the family farms.
Yes, and when the farms, when they are thinking about these milking systems and what's why they want to milk, I think this like people structure is something what actually you should really think in the very like early phase. And also one aspect is that okay, we also need to think that okay, what kind of employees we will have after 5 years. So what are their demands, what kind of work they want to do, and what kind of working place we want to offer them, so that do the future workers, are they those ones which actually want to do like the simple tasks, one task, or do they want to be more like those who are doing like multiple tasks? And of course it's a big question mark, but again, something to really think in the very early phase.
But again, like these questions, like said, that it really depends also the location where you are. If you are in the USA, we might have a different discussion. If we are in Northern Europe, we might have a discussion. If we are in Eastern Europe, it might be a different discussion, and so on.
Yes. So a little bit playing with these ideas, if we have a large box robot farm, this is actually one large robotic barn and from United States, and this is just this didn't describe the way how they mainly work, but just shows the idea how you can think this employee management when you have like lots of robots and lots of cows. So the first version is that it's kind of like a specialist work that employee A and employee C, they are actually working in the housing barns, and they are doing like those basic works, cleaning stalls, fetching cows, cleaning waters, and so on. And then there's an employee B, which is specialized for working with special needs cows and maybe with robots, and he's kind of like just doing those kind of things on the middle area of the barn.
Yeah, this might be maybe easier to maybe teach the workers and so on, because for example, employee A and C, they only have few tasks. But then we come to the situation that, okay, what if the employee B leaves, or they have a sick leave or something like that? What happens then? Then we have employee A and B and C who don't know about these things that happen in the middle. Whereas we have this another option also, when we have these kind of district managers. So there are districts in the barn, and the one worker is actually dealing with all kind of jobs and tasks in that area. They understand what happens in the main grouping area. They understand what happens in the robot area. They also understand what happens with the treatment cow area, for example. Of course, it doesn't mean that they have to do everything by themselves. There still can be some veterinarian who does actually the treatment jobs and so on. But they have this larger understanding what happens in the barn, and it might give some flexibility. But of course, in here, every worker has more tasks and responsibilities.
Yeah, this is kind of like scaling the farm. Like family farm way of working in robot barn, and scaling it in the bigger scale. So that, because also in the family sized farms, smaller farms, those employees need to do all kinds of tasks, as Antti was explaining. So this is just like doing it in the bigger scale. And also one advantage, especially if we have these buildings so that they are separated. This specific farm, this was like a big tunnel vent barn, and it was a big like almost square building. But then if we have district managers like they work in their own area, and they don't need to walk that much. So there's actually less this like walking and waste on these processes when we have district managers. That is also like one aspect.
But overall, labor efficiency also supports people's welfare. And what we in 4dBarn really try to point out here, that very well thought work routines and also clear tasks that really guide the employees, so they always know how this should be done, what is the most efficient way of doing this, and how the work itself is fluent. And that also gives us, in some cases, especially when we talked the previous example where they had these district managers, there are a bit more things on the employee's plate, but actually in some cases some workers really enjoy that they have these kind of the challenges. They have kind of this mental challenges also. It's not just scraping the stalls, but it is also a bit more versatile than that. And that also means that when you have good labor efficiency in the barn, you don't have to use that much time for just basic routine tasks. It also gives a bit more time for just observation and the management, other management stuff, and also other routines in the barn.
Yeah, and always all kinds of emergencies are happening in the farms all the time. Some things are getting broken, and there also needs to be some space for that of course in those labor hours too. Mm-hmm. So now, if we look at about this labor efficiency, and when we actually change this talking and we change that to talk about the money.
Yes.
But let's first have like two examples.
Yes. So these are just quite two examples. The first one is actually a family farm from Finland. They have, and this is actually one of our barns that we have designed, and we have also done this boosted service measurements that we talked earlier. So they are milking over 200 cows with 4 milking robots, and they also have all the calvings and transition cows and treatment cows in the same barn. So the two farmers are running it, and altogether the routine work in the barn is 4.5 labor hours in a day. And as we talked earlier, that includes all the necessary work of the barn. And they also like you can see also the timeline, which shows the work shift that they have during the day. So they have a morning routines, and they have also the evening routines, and that's what they do. They really try to do everything as efficiently as possible. They also don't have any night shifts, and per one robot, the daily routine time in their barn is 1.15 hours in a day. Yes, and this, yeah.
And this farm, they were producing, I think about roughly about 700 liters milk per labor hour. So they were, as for the labor efficiency, they weren't the best, but they were very good.
Yes. And one thing to notice that this number does not include all the weekly routines. It does not all of them are included here. But you can see on the top right picture that in our measurements that where the time was consumed. So around 15% was in the separation area, 40% was actually happened around the robots, 30% happened in the main milking group. That also included bringing the new fresh breading, and around 16% happened in the office area. Yeah.
Then the other example. So this was a large farm in the United States, and so they were milking in this barn 1,800 cows with 30 milking robots, and this was just only for the production. So there wasn't any transition or anything in this barn, and they had daily basis 6 workers, and they were working a total of 59 hours. And in their number was that they per one robot, the daily routine time, it was roughly 2 hours. And transition and treatment cows, they like I said, they weren't included in this barn. And of course, during these hours, they did most of these weekly tasks were done in this time period.
And when you click a few more times, we can actually see the timeline per day and how they had the workers. So there was always some people in the barn. During the night, there was one worker, then the morning shift had 3 workers at the same time, and then they have this evening shift that had 2 workers in the time. And again, as we talked about the people management and also getting new employees, in some cases, this is also that really affects on the how easy it is to get employees, especially here, for example, in Finland. Night shift in the barn is something that it's not really wanted among the workers.
Yeah. So if we look at this labor efficiency and how does it affect the farm economy, we talked with you how many liters per labor hour is being produced. We also in the collected data what we have we also can compare how many minutes per cow is being used. And again, this includes daily routine with cows, heifers, cows, and feeding. And here, the most efficient farm was using 1.8 minutes per cow, and the least efficient one was using about 14 minutes. So again, just crazy big variation. And now, if we pick the farm A, just for like as an example, and we pick the farm B, and the farm A is spending 3 minutes per cow, and farm B is having spending 5 minutes per cow.
So not the best and not the worst, but somewhere from the middle.
Yeah. And now when we start to look the numbers. So this first farm A,
if they have this like example where they would have 600 cows, they would have roughly 30 hours per day, and the farm B, if they would have also 600 cows, they would use almost 50 hours per day, which is, of course, it's a 20-hour difference in a day, in the working hours, and in a year, it's actually 7,300 hours. And if all the labor costs that comes for the farm of the employees, so of course the salary, but also the extra expenses, it would be 20 euros. It would be 150,000 euros in 1 year, and almost 3 million euros in 20 years. So that is the difference we are talking about here, and that's just in the labor efficiency.
And again, we are not comparing; we are comparing just farms in the middle.
Yes.
not the extremes.
Yes, not the extremes. Yeah.
Yes. And if we go further with this calculations, so if we looked about think about the investment cost and turnover during 20 years, because always when we are investing, investment is also always happening. It's not it's not being done for 1 year. It's done, let's say, minimum 20 years, and of course the building will be used after that. But we just quite often in our calculations use it 20 years, which we kind of see that it's like the life cycle of the robotic barn, so that it can be pretty much kept on the same same level. So why this well thought design? Why it's so important? The thing is here. So the investment cost is happening only once when you do it, when you are building a new barn. But this turnover, how much does the barn produce? What you get out from there? It happens every year, every day, every year, and now we just counted it up to 20 years. And if we think about this same example, 600 cows and new robotic barn, and let's think that I would say average price of building this robotic barn would be 10,000 euros per cow place, so it would be 6 million euros. So annual turnover would be 3.5 million, roughly 3.5 million, and then if we look this turnover value in 20 years, it would be about 70 million. And now the 6 million investment actually is this turnover value is 11 times higher during this 20 years than this investment cost. And that is actually the point where we always stop. That is the reason why we never can sacrifice the functionality of the barn when we are investing. everything in the investment cost, we need to do it right.
Yes, because all this functionality, all these things, really important things that happens and repeats every day during these 20 years, that all affects for the turnover value. But so our main point is what we have observed from our research, from our studies, from the morning duties of the barns, is that automatic milking system is not enough to achieve good results, but it's a lot larger picture around it, because the robot itself, it's basically it is a milking machine, but it doesn't solve any animal health or welfare or labor challenges, but those things always require people doing those tasks, and that comes to that brings us to the barn design and also the management around it.
And this is the reason why 4dBarn is existing again, that how we would like to make those robotic barns to be better, so that they are more productive, they are more efficient, they are better for the cows, they are better for the people, so that they have a high labor efficiency. And the way how we help farms, very important part, and actually that's quite often the starting point to the projects what we are doing, is our so-called invest service, where we actually make a strategic plan for your farm for coming next 30 years, and we create the farmstead plan where we show all the future expansions and things what might happen in the future. And it always starts, especially when we do this on the existing farm, so that we analyze the current farm and their buildings, and what the usage of the buildings would be in the long term, what will be in the short term, and what can be still used in the future. And this is really like a solid foundation when you are investing something. It's a roadmap to the future, which is actually from the kind of like a bird view picture of that first, and after that, when you have a clear view what to build, then it's easier to jump to this our design service.
Yes, and the design service, this is where we actually design the barn layout and the work routines inside that barn. And it basically includes that a lot of discussions about just the management, how the farm is doing tasks at the moment, how is their work routines at the moment in the current facilities, how are they doing things, how they would like to see them happening in the future. If the research had something new information, for example, regarding animal welfare, if there are some new ways of thinking, of doing tasks, there's a lot of discussions on that. And as a result, there was always going to be a functional layout and gate design, and the aim for that is really achieve the smooth cow flow and the best labor efficiency. And another point of view is that everything that you design today, it needs to be scalable. So it needs to have a clear plan that, okay, after 10 years, 20 years, whatever, if the situation is that the farm is increasing their size, how you can scale this barn and how you can expand it in the future. And of course, one of the very important thing is the robot placement. How are they orientated? How are the cow flow arranged? How are the people flow arranged? So you could actually achieve the best results from the cows and also as easy working for the people as possible.
So in which way and which phase we would like to jump into the picture, so that we can help the client in the best possible way. So we always say that, of course, as early as possible. And like said, I was just talking about this invest service, this farmstead plan phase. I think that is really the starting point where all this design should be starting. Not just going straight to talk about the layouts, but really think about the future and have a strategic plan how the farm will develop in the future. Of course, then when there's a preliminary decision to build, that is the phase, so that we are not still too late. And quite often when we talk about the box robotic barns, the good thing is that I would say that most of them are something that we can still do the design without. We don't need to know which color of robot it will be. and we can still, when the farmer chooses the robot brand, then actually we can together with the dealer, robotic dealer, we put these plans together and we do things so that it's good and best with that robotic robot brand. And the way how we think is that we would like to change the design from the thinking that I like that layout. This is my neighbor built this kind of barn. I want to build something different or something like that. We would like to change that thinking more that how I would like to work in my barn, what kind of things I want to do there, what kind of management I want to have there, and then build the design based on that plan, your own plan. That would be the best way. So I know that there are in this webinar there are also some dealers listening to us, and we are extremely happy about that you are there. So 4dBarn, we are an independent operator, so we are absolutely working very well along with all the dealers. We don't have any famous brands. We work with all the colors, and what we have seen is that dealers, you really have a best knowledge about your machinery and technical stuff, and you are really on good that. And this is absolutely very important that dealer is very well involved when this design will be accomplished and when it will be built. And I would say that it's also, of course, for the dealers, robotic dealers, very good that if the robot barn is working very well, then everybody is happy. Farmer is happy, 4dBarn is happy, and dealer is happy.
Yeah. It's a win-win situation.
Win-win.
Yeah, and then of course, quite often we also get the farm advisors. If there is some veterinarians or feeding advisor or some advisors, and they have a long relationship with the farmers, we always want to include them also to the design service, and especially when the advisors can tell about their thoughts about these specific farms, because quite often they have a long history and trust also. So we also understand the management style of each farm.
Yeah. So in the end of the day, the point is that this is cooperation. This is not that we are saying to the farm this is the best barn layout or something. We need to all work together. And when we talk about this, so it will be dealer, farm advisor, farm, and then we as designers. Mm. So like a conclusion or summary about what we have been talking here. The thing is that once you build a barn, you live with it. So we are telling to the farmers that it's always changing the barn layout is easy up to the moment when a concrete truck has left the farm. After that, it's going to be very expensive.
Yes, and yeah, even that easier it is doing that when it's still on the drawing board on the paper.
Yes, and you can, of course, you can change the feed and you can change the management, but changing the barn is very difficult for these reasons. Concrete dries and it's quite hard and it needs diamond cutting if you want to change that. And decisions and choices, what you do in the design phase, they are really crucial when you think about the life cycle of the barn in the future. Then you determine your future. Very big part of that on the design table.
And as we really like to point out that the good barn design, it really is not a cost, it is an investment to really secure the future success and really secure the biggest possible turnover value. So if you are interested in investing in robotic milking, so first of all, we have lots of videos in our YouTube channel, and also in our website 4dBarn.com. There's lots of information. Yes, And if you want to learn more about working in a robot barn or farm step planning or handling in a robot barn, we have done quite a bit of like these e-courses or webinars also in our website. And actually, for this webinar, we actually made this minus 50% of discount code that you can see on the screen, and you can actually use that also, and it's until the Sunday, March 16th.
Yeah, and of course, if you are interested to talk about your plans, we have a system that you can book a free of charge meeting with us. So sending email to our either straight to me or Antti, or to this our info.4dBarn.com website. And in those meetings, we always we want to listen. Where you at, and what is your situation, and what kind of things and ideas you have, and then we will give you some thoughts, and then we also want to understand that, so that how we can help you. So it's a very like low level. Just please contact us and come and talk with us about your project.
Absolutely.
So I think this was the presentation, and now I will just take the screen off, and if there are some,
yes, I will check this chat if there is any questions that had come here. We haven't had any questions yet in the chat, but please feel free to open your mic or write it to the chat if you have any questions that you would like to ask.
Did we completely make the palazzo or this like empty? I don't know if these palazzos are very well known in other places, but so if there are not any questions, I think then we are ready to say goodbye.
Yes, and I think I saw that Virpi actually shared and copied the discount code to the chat. So if you're interested to see that what we have in our website, please feel free. There is actually a straight link in the chat, and also the discount code that you can use.
And if somebody came late into this webinar, so this has been recorded, and you will get I don't know how fast, but you will get within a few days maybe. You will get a link, and then you can see it from the beginning. So if you came late, no worries. You can listen everything after at your own time. And of course, if somebody else wants to do this, then you can watch it again.
Absolutely. So
okay.
We still. Oh yes. Yeah, if you already said that they were late, but yeah, you will get the link, yeah. So you can see the whole presentation.
Yeah. There was a question. What is the best robot setup in a 6-row barn? Okay, well, that is the question, of course, which is quite a big question. First of all, of course, we should know that is the 6-row barn, is it a barn with that feeding table in the middle, or is it a perimeter feeding? Of course, this robot orientation is something which is very much based on your management choices. For example, how much you want to emphasize, for example, auto sorting or something else. And of course, the other thing is that also what is the size of the pen.
Yes, and also one other thing is that what happens in the back area of the robots. What animals are there? Are there animals, for example, or are we talking about only main milking group? Because right now, normally when we would have this kind of discussion, for example, in our clients, we would have normally at least 2 or 3 meetings when we talk first about the management, so we could have a bit more details about it. But there is a lot of variables that affect on that.
Yes.
But I would say that I would say that in general, like every robot orientation have their own pros and cons. And then it's just about comparing them and the features that what some gives and what some others, and then it's again always farm-based decision.
Yes. Okay. So if there are not any other questions, So, oh, there's a question. What are your thoughts on full wood batch milking? If I'm not this full wood batch milking, I think I think that's you're talking about this curved holding area.
Mm.
So first, I haven't seen that like anywhere, so that I could comment very much about that. Actually, I remember that this full wood batch milking was introduced. I think it was 2012 or 14 in Eurotier show. I saw like a small scale model about that, and I found it interesting, but I haven't seen it anywhere. So I don't have any like thoughts about that.
All right. I don't think there is any more questions in the chat, and I think our time is up. So thank you so much for everybody who joined you today. And like I said, you will get the recording in a few days, and so you can watch this again.
Yeah.
So,
okay, thank you everybody, and whether you are on the east, it's have a good evening, and if you are in the North America, have a good day. Okay,
yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye bye.